Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the most disappointing books I've read lately. I read this apparently. Honestly, I think it kind of traumatized me to the point where I forgot a lot about this book. I did this video, I would say a few years ago, and people seem to really enjoy it. I talked about all different genres, a handful of books, and today we're going to be talking about same kind of genres but all different kinds of books. So ones that I've most recently read or that I haven't talked about in a really long time that I'm actually getting rid of because I just did not like them a lot. However, before we get into this video, if you have not yet, please like the video and subscribe down below. That way you don't miss any more of my videos. I think I have around like 6 or 8 books that I'm going to talk about today. So let's get right into it. All of the books that I'm going to show you are about a 3-star rating. I don't usually go under that because the book has to be really bad, like almost DNF for me to rate a book 2. Otherwise it's like usually a 3 stars, kind of my lowest rating. And so most of these books I'm going to talk about are 3-star. Let's start with thrillers first. I have one thriller that I'm going to talk about, and I have mentioned it before, but I honestly could not even remember that I read this book, if that doesn't tell you anything. And that is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I picked up this book because I saw another booktuber reading it, and I don't know what her ended rating was, but I did not like it. I actually was like looking through, like, you know, what books have I read this so far, you know, in the last few months. I read this apparently. And I read the synopsis. First of all, the premise is really interesting, but there's a few things I didn't like. One, the characters were very underdeveloped. This book was very strong with the telling. It's just telling you what's happening. It's not showing you anything. So I didn't love that because I love when a book can make you feel something or kind of illustrate it in your mind without having to tell you, and that was not this book. Another thing I did not like is it just wasn't really memorable. I know enough to say that this girl's pretending to be another person, like it's not actually her name. It seemed like she was just out for money, like a really bad person. That's about it. I don't remember the plot twists. I don't remember the ending, nothing. So The First Lie Wins is the first really disappointing read. And honestly, I feel like there's other thrillers out there that if you're looking for one, you're gonna find one better than this one specifically. So, did not enjoy this one at all. The next book is a really recent read. However, it's a very old book. It was published in like 2016. I think I got this book in 2016. I previously tried to read it 2 other times and I could not get through it. I don't know what it was. I could tell you word for word some of the scenes, but that's because I've read it 3 times now and I just had to stop, like even before getting halfway. Like it just was not grabbing me. And that is The 1000th Floor by Katherine McGee. This is the first book I'm actually getting rid of. I had the second book, The Dazzling Heights, and I got rid of that one, and I just think I might as well just get rid of this one too. I think the covers are stunning. Like I love the idea of it. Specifically, the thing that really drew me in is there's a huge tower of 1,000 floors, and the higher up you are, the more status you have. But with that, the characters that they kind of follow, because there's like 6 different point of views in this book. Way too many characters, first of all. I felt very confused. You almost like forget who is who and where they are in, you know, in the tower. So I didn't like that, but they're very shallow. They just don't have a lot of personality, and who wants that, you know? So another big thing that I feel like was brushed over is the like incest in this book, because this one girl is like obsessed with her brother. They aren't blood, but like they grew up their whole life together, and I just feel like the way it was played out was just wrong and kind of weird. So didn't love this one. Honestly, it's not dystopian, but I feel like it should be dystopian. But at the same time, like, you learn something in the first chapter, which really kind of like, oh, like what's going on? It kind of shocks you until it takes you like 300 pages or 400 pages to get to what happened, just to leave on a cliffhanger. And it's like, okay, well now I'm gonna have to pick up the next book, but no. So getting rid of this one, The Thousandth Floor, very disappointing. Not it. Not very memorable either, except for, you know, the few chapters I read 3 times. I do not think I'm gonna be alone in this next one. This is technically a paranormal romance, is what it's characterized as. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Honestly, I think it kind of traumatized me to the point where I forgot a lot about this book until I was like looking at some of the reviews and I was like, that did happen. I remember now. Yup, that all went down. So follows a werewolf and a vampire. They end up like dating, so that was kind of fun, different, because usually it's the vampire dating a human or the werewolf dating a human, but instead they're dating each other. And the topics discussed in here, or like specific scenes, were so cringy and awful. I feel like the start was okay, and then I had really high hopes, and then it just fell flat. It was very much a waste of time in the best way possible, like to say. I don't like to talk bad about a book, but this was just cringy. I don't recommend this, and it was not good. Very disappointing. I was not aware that this next book was considered fiction. It says that on the back, but I thought it was more of a romance, and that is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the second Hannah Grace book I've read. I read Icebreaker, and that one was very okay. I feel like I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but the end was very confusing to me. That is my nephew. I apologize. Anyway, so that one was okay. So when I was going into this one, I was a little hesitant because it wasn't like a book that I loved before, and did not love this. I just don't think Hannah Grace books are for me, and that's fine. I can't say I'll pick up another book by her because this one was very mid. The characters portrayed here, one, there's always way too many characters. So many characters you're following. I get really confused and lost in the plot of the story. I think the whole camp counselor thing was a cool idea, something new for me, except it just, I don't know, there just wasn't enough for me. The male character in this was very cute and very respectful. However, the girl is just, she has issues, family issues, and I just feel like they're always brought up, and it's just, we get it, like we don't need to hear it again, so just move on. And there was not a lot of, I would say, like romance scenes in this. It was very much like back and forth, not much happening. And unfortunately, I think all Hannah Grace books now are just not something I'm going to be picking up. Let me know if you have kind of a similar opinion to me, or if you had a different thought on this book, because I know there were a lot of people that liked this, and I'm sure there's other books so far I've talked about that someone might have really loved. And I'm a big believer in like right book, wrong time, so there's that too. But some of these, I don't even think if I would have waited a month or a year or 2 years, probably wouldn't have changed my mind. But Wildfire, disappointing. Other romance or fiction in this sense that I would highly recommend over this one, and I stand by that. The next and final romance kind of book, I think it's technically like a young adult, but there is romance. Don't quote me on that, but What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Wather. I actually read this book for a 24-hour readathon, and I mean, it fit the video very well because it's talking about like midnight breaking into school, but I just want to show you the synopsis on the back, okay? 80% of the book is right here, okay? 2, the nickname of our main character is Hopscotch because she likes to hopscotch. yeah. I've heard The Summer of Broken Rules is way, way better, and I think I will still pick that one up because I have it on my TBR cart. This one was fun. It was fast, so I'll give it that. It was entertaining. It kept me up. I finished the book like within a few hours. It's a really big book for 80% of it being here. I just feel like either shorten this up and kind of make it more of like a surprise, or I don't know. But What Happens After Midnight was quite disappointing for me, and I don't regret reading the book because I wouldn't say it was like a waste of my time. It's just, it wasn't anything special, and it's not a book that I think about often or I think to recommend to anyone. Getting into some fantasy, we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This might be a little shocking to some people, and I want to start by saying it was okay. It's not like the worst book I've ever read. I promise there's other books that are way higher on that awful pedestal than this one, but few things. First one, like I said, it was okay. There were some cute parts in this. There is like a little bit of that romance, so that had me giggling. I think it was cute. Our MMC is very sweet yet like tough, and I did enjoy that. However, the book fell flat about like 50% of the way through. I felt like the intro in the beginning of the book was very intriguing and it had me wanting to read more, but then the story got really confusing and it kind of lost me. So disappointing. Will I read the other books because this is just the first one in a series? Probably. If someone were to say, hey, read the next one, it gets way better, I would pick it up. But right now it's just not on my radar, and I have a lot of other books that are kind of more of a priority than this series. Yeah, just a little confusing towards the end. I feel like it kind of lost that plot, a little messy. So we have 2 more books to talk about, both of which are fantasy, and honestly might be a little bit of a hot take. Could be wrong, we'll see. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. I read this, I think, 2 months ago, and the first book I loved, Serpent in the Wings of Night. I felt like it was very fun, action-packed, high stakes, thrilling. This one, I had high expectations going into it, and it was a lot of nothing. I felt like our FMC was crying and complaining the first like half of the book, and our MMC was just going through like day by day trying to, I don't want to like spoil it, but like there just wasn't a lot of plot or information, drama, complexity, anything like that. Once we hit chapter 50, so about like 50% of the way through, I would say, it picked up. So I would say this is definitely a book that's more close to like a 4-star than a 3, but it was disappointing in the sense that the first one was really good, and because of that I went into the second one having high hopes, and it didn't give me anything. So I honestly also think that the ending kind of disappointed me a little bit. Without spoiling, it didn't have the wow factor or the impact that I was hoping it would. So not the best book. Do I recommend the series? Absolutely. I think it's fun. It follows, again, vampires, and in the first one it talks about like different trials that the character has to go through in order to like win a championship. So it definitely has that high stakes, and I would say the second half of this book brought it back. So it was entertaining and fast towards that second half, but when you have to read like 200 pages of nothing, it drags and drags and drags, and it almost lost me. This last one is by far, I feel like, the most popular book that I'm going to talk about today that was extremely disappointing for me, and that is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the second book after Fourth Wing, and I know Fourth Wing had so much hype, but I loved it. I loved the dragons. I liked the romance and the action. Honestly, a lot of the characters I enjoyed, so I'm glad I read it. When I got into this thick book, I was lost. I don't know what happened between the first book and the second book, but I feel like the characters, all of their personalities changed, or at least like our main character, and it was a little disappointing for me. It was so slow. I was confused. I had a really hard time visualizing anything that was going on. I don't want to talk terrible about this book because the ending, I was shocked and I did want to know what happened. But when a whole book is about 600 pages, and I would say more than 50% of it was very slow and lackluster, that's a lot to get through. Now, the last one, Onyx Storm, I did enjoy a lot more than this one. Was it by far the best book I've read? Absolutely not. I still loved Fourth Wing way more. But what took place in Onyx Storm, I did enjoy. I felt like it was very bam, 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 but with that it was confusing. So this one was just overall confusing. Again, I love visualizing and seeing it in my head. Paint me a picture and I will love it. This made it hard. There just wasn't anything. And the information, I would say 200 pages of this book could have been cut out. And especially with like the repeating, there were so many repeated lines, and it's like, well, this is why, because it's confusing, and this is, well, you just can't understand. No, it's not that confusing. Like, just so anyway, Iron Flame, very disappointing, and I'm glad I continued the series. It's just, I don't know if it was because I think there was a time I remember reading that she was coming out with the book like really soon after the first one, and a lot of people were nervous because I would rather an author take their time, make the book good, than like just spit it out and get people to read and read and read, because if it's not good, they might not continue the series. And that was kind of this one. It just, a few things. Cut it by 200 pages, quit the repeating, get some better descriptive writing, and change the characters' personalities. And by changing the whole book, I don't know, but Iron Flame, not it for me. Very disappointing. These are all the books that are very, very much disappointing for me. And I have heard that a few people have reread these books and liked it the second time around. I don't know if I can do that if I didn't like it the first time, if I'm gonna like put myself through rereading a book. But let me know if you have different opinions or similar opinions to me down below. I know, you know, ratings are so subjective, and like I said, right book, wrong time. Maybe it's a book that you love and maybe it was a book that I just did not like at all, vice versa, and that's okay. I think that's what makes reading so special, is everyone has their own opinions on it and their own like favorite books of all time, and I love that. And I love trying new books. So if there's a book that you love, let me know and I will probably pick it up and I will read it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
Hey.
Hi guys.